chapter 29 of the Srrws of Satan, where Lucio has come to stay. I probably missed out on telling you about that in the end of chapter 28 because it wasn't that interesting. It's just basically Lucio showed up, said, "Hey, I'll only stay if you invite me," and they invite him because misery loves company, and Lucio's good company, especially if you're a miserable materialistic bastard who's godless and just foul and degrading yourself. Even though Lucio himself seems like a kind of a good chum companion, but he's always, I guess, pushing people down the wrong non-moral path. But it's not like he's like, introducing hookers and blow. It's just materialism. It's a kind of a very light damning, though it's that damning where you've got lots of wealth and power and you could be using it for good, and you're not. You're just using it to indulge your own vices, even if those vices aren't really portrayed that fabulous by Marie Corelli. Like, they never seem fun. They never seem tempting, I guess. Other than like, nice surroundings, lots of nice food, good entertainments, gambling. Not that I'm particularly interested in gambling, but the things that would seduce me are not even, are so foul they're not even mentioned. But we do have Mavis Clare coming over, and they have a dinner party, and everyone kind of wanders off to go somewhere, and Tempest comes upon the strange scene of Lucio and Mavis Clare having a discussion, and Lucio basically offers Mavis Clare riches and to get her enemies, and Mavis Clare is like, "No, I don't want riches, and of course you should have enemies, because if you actually take a position in life, you'll make enemies. That's just the course of things. If you didn't have enemies, then you'd be a non-entity. So that doesn't work." And it's interesting. Lucio looks really morose, like he's fucking hating doing this through all this. And he comes up with this final thing, which is like, love. You don't have love. You do not have the love of man. And maybe this one strikes Mavis Clare more, even though it's interesting how Mavis Clare is presented. She's her work and all that is all constructed through Pallas Athena, which, like, it's not a sexual erotic thing, but it's a strong female relationship, even if it's female to a marble goddess, portrayed as sexless, but maybe like the safest kind of same-sex kind of relationship. And it's like Lucio's never even goes there of saying like, well, maybe you like women. It's like, that does not come up. That does not come up in this book. But Mavis Clare is like, well, if I, and it's like, of course you don't have a woman because most men are foolish brutes and they're afraid of you for thing. But wouldn't even the love of a foolish brute be better than not having anything of all? And aren't you going to be like, when you get older, aren't you going to be just bitter about your loneliness and stuff like that? And she's like, no. I mean, if it's meant to be, it'll be. God will bring me, will bring that fellow, because we're going to be all heterosexual here, fellow to me. But if it doesn't happen, I have my comradeship is my work, Pallas Athena. She doesn't say Pallas Athena, but I'm thinking it has been referenced earlier, Pallas Athena, probably by Tempest's thoughts. And so she declines that. And Lucio is super thrilled that she has rejected him. It's like, and he drops to his knees and begs, like, could you do me one thing? And it's not something that's like, it's going to cost you, because I know you pray all the time. Could you pray for me? Because pray for me, for one who has fallen from his higher and better self, who strives, but who not may attain, who labors under heavy punishment, and would fain reach heaven, but who, by the cursed will of man, and man alone, is kept in hell. So, and it's like, I'll promise to pray for you. I will pray that the strange and bitter sorrow which seems to consume you may be removed from your life. At which point he gives the title speech of this novel. "Sorrow," he echoed, interrupting her and springing to his feet with an impassioned gesture. "Woman, Genius, angel, whatever you are, do not speak of one sorrow for me. I have 1,000,000 sorrows, I a million, that are as little as flames about my heart, and as deeply seated as the centers of the universe. The foul and filthy crime of men, the base deceits and cruelty of women, the ruthless, murderous ingratitude of children, the scorn of good, the martyrdom of intellect, the selfishness, the avarice, the sensuality of human life, the hideous blasphemy and sin of the creatures to the Creator. These are my endless sorrows. These keep me wretched and in chains when I would fain be free. And continues to go on. No, yeah, and promises at the end that we'll meet no more on this earth. Never again, Mavis Clare. No, through all your quiet days of sweet and contented existence will I cross your path. Before heaven, I swear it. Him saying, like, someday at the end of creation, maybe we can meet, you as an angel, me maybe finally by then restored to my past self, but before then we will never meet. So this is indeed, Lucio is definitely it's an interesting depiction of Satan as this creature who is doomed to condemn people to hell, to lure people to hell, even though, as he says in the book, even though he says, like, within this chapter, it's like, what does he say? It's right after what I just think. I do not think I am as bad as the worst man living. I may tempt, but I do not pursue. I take my lead in many lives, yet I make the way I go so plain that those who follow me do so by their own choice and free will more than by my persuasion. I mean, that's a big thing. It's like, you always have a choice. You always have free will. That is very much his thing, which is, it's interesting because Mavis Clare has a thing of saying here, it's like, oh, you've offered me your help. Well, I've never accepted anyone's help. She's the self-made woman, which I don't know if that's actually an honest thing to say about oneself. It's like, you always have assistance along the way. And I mean, a part of being a human being is you give assistance to others and you take assistance yourself, which is what makes us the social creature that we are. So when Mavis Clare says that, that's somewhat iffy. And this is also very much that you have a choice of what path you take in life, which is a very comforting thought, a very kind of like the rational individuality, independence thought that we have. And there is that in there, but there's also wider forces that are arrayed around us. But when you get down to kind of personal spirituality, personal drive, people very much emphasize that they have choice, which you do. It's like, it's finding that balance of, you have to acknowledge, I think it's good to acknowledge that you are swayed by various things in your life. And maybe the more you're conscious of being swayed by them, the more you can exercise individual choice. But I don't pretend to be independent of my times. Me saying throughout this, me commenting on this book that I'm an atheist, I know is a part of that is just a product of the times I live in. If I'd lived 100 years beforehand, I would have never even considered being an atheist, most likely. The strong possibility is I would be Church of England or Church of Scotland or something like that, and it would have never crossed my mind. Maybe I would have been one of those people who went to church who didn't like, okay, and then I'd go to church and then I'd kind of leave. I'd walk away and I wouldn't think about it anymore in my daily life, and I would have more. I don't know. Yeah. So these are my rambly thoughts, but yes, I thought it was, now that I had the chance, I would stop and talk about Lucio, because Lucio is an interesting depiction of the devil, in that he is a sorrowful devil. He's a devil that hates it every time he damns a hell soul to hell, um, but also fucking hates human beings, women especially, looks down upon us like you're so not worthy of the blessings that the Creator has given you, the divine human soul. Like you waste it all the time. You're pathetic to me. You're beyond, you're beneath my regard, and I despise you. Um, Except for Mavis Clare. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.